Thank you, Chair Bigger. Chair Grayson Bigger,
Here.
Dr. Jim Carr,
Here.
Dr. Jerry Cash,
Here.
Dr. Catherine Dudley, Chad Hooten,
Here.
Heather Maxey,
Here.
Dr. Kyle Miller, Lucas Pointer,
Here.
Carolyn Reinhardt. We have a quorum. We have 6 out of 9 board members present. I see Dr. Kyle Miller, so that makes it 7 out of 9.
Thank you, Nicole. Before we jump into our agenda items, Commissioner Warden, would you like to say anything?
Chair Bigger, I'd just like to thank you and the board members for calling this special meeting. There are some things that we need to do in order to award some of the financial scholarships and incentives this year that have been kind of delayed through the rules promulgation process. I'm not one to, encourage special meetings, but in this case, I think if we don't, that it would that doing this and getting these rules on down through the process long term is going to help our institutions and help students. So thank you and the board for taking time out of your day, and really that's all I have. We just have some rules before you that have all been legislated and approved, and it's upon us to look those over and approve so we can move to the next step. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I speak for the rest of the board where if it make sure that we get scholarship funds in kids' hands, we're happy to do it. So jumping into our action items, number 1 covers the rules governing the sustainable building maintenance programs for state-supported institutions of higher education. And this begins on page 1-1 of your agenda packet. Mr. Nick Fuller will provide background information for these items.
Thank you. And before you start, I do want to make mention to everyone, if you noticed, there were 2 late additions to the agenda, items 14 and 15 that were on the initial agenda that was sent out, that is posted on the website, and the board members did receive that update before the meeting. For everyone else, it is out there on the website for you. But the agenda item number 1 for the Sustainable Building Maintenance Program, this is a rule that you all saw at the July board meeting for our initial review. It has now went through the public comment period and back for your final approval. It's regarding loans for maintenance needs, low interest loans for maintenance needs on the public institution campus.
Madam Chairman, wanted a motion to approve.
Okay. Do we have any questions on this agenda item? Okay, so we have a motion to approve from Dr. Jim Carr. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Pointer. No. Thank you.
That was Hooten.
I'm sorry, did I miss something?
I thought that was Mr. Hooten who seconded.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Hooten. Okay. Do I hear, so we have a motion from Dr. Carr, a second from Mr. Hooten. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I believe that passes 7-0. Our next action item covers the rules governing several programs up for final approval, which begin on page 2-1 of your agenda book. Ms. Alicia Lewis will provide background for these items.
Thank you, Chair Bigger. The action items number 2 through 7 are rules that you have seen before at our July board meeting. They have gone through the the public comment period, and they have received no public comment. And so now they're being presented to you for final adoption. This is the rules governing the military dependent. Just a quick synopsis. That was granting stepchildren to be eligible to receive those funds. Action item number 3 is the rules governing the financial aid appeals process. And that was rules that enable the financial aid office to hear appeals and to have a process for students to be able to regain their eligibility for scholarships after they lost it, perhaps to a technicality. Rules governing the state teacher education program and the teacher opportunity program and the Washington Center and the law enforcement officers dependent scholarship. That was just having some cleanup language, such as moving the reference to the director of ADE to the commissioner of ADHE, and then also including summer aid for students receiving those scholarships.
Any questions on these items? Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Jerry Cash, I have one question. Who is on the appeals committee?
We have reached out to several different constituents of ours. We have a parent, we have someone from the Student Loan Authority, we have a couple of people from institutions, and then we have some people within our own division in higher education.
Is that committee, does it have a set number?
It does not.
And how are they selected?
We voluntold a couple of people.
Oh,
We do solicit not donations, but we solicit recommendations from other people within our agency, and we tried to get a good mix of people that represented 2 years and 4 years, because sometimes there's technicalities that that pertain to each of those institutions, and we wanted representation from each of those.
and then how does the appeals committee work? Do you all meet collectively, or do you meet by Zoom, or how do you make a decision on someone who's appealing a scholarship?
Yes, sir. We've done both. We have met virtually, and then we've met once in person. Throughout the month of July, we had 274 students that applied for an appeal. And once they completed the application for an appeal, we logged all of those, and we received all of their supplemental documentation that's necessary for us to make an informed decision about them regaining their eligibility. And we met and we went through all of them and made a decision. So that was kind of the process that we used for July. And in August, we have not utilized an in-person meeting. We have only met virtually.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
Any other questions? Okay. Then do I hear a motion to approve for final approval the rules for agenda items number 2 through 7?
So move.
Dr. Cash, Dr. Cash, do I have a second?
I second.
Second.
Okay, I think that was Mr. Hooten who got it first. Is that right?
No.
No. Who had it first?
I think it was Dr. Miller.
Oh, Dr. Miller.
Mhm.
Okay, so I have a first from Dr. Cash, a second from Dr. Miller. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Okay. Moving on to action agenda items number 8 through 13. This covers rules governing several programs up for initial approval, which begin on page 8-1 of the agenda book. Ms. Alicia Lewis will provide background for these items.
Thank you, Chair Bigger. Rule number 8, these are the first time that you're seeing these particular set of rules. And this is pending your approval to be released for public comment. Action item number 8 is concerning the governing of the osteopathic rural medical practice student loan and scholarship program. This scholarship program has a board that is legislatively mandated, and that board was seated I think 2 years ago, and then there was a technicality that the Supreme Court said that they were not seated legally, and so we pulled the rule back, and since then this is the new rule, and we have got 4 out of the 6 board members to this particular scholarship seated, And we need the passage of this rule in order for us to be able to award students this scholarship money. What this scholarship does is it provides funds for students who are in an osteopathic medical program. And it's really like a loan forgiveness program, meaning that they get the money, they get the scholarship, and then they're required to practice in a rural medically underserved area of Arkansas as part of their repayment. Rule number 9 is concerning the Arkansas Geographical Critical Needs Scholarship Program, and that was just adding summer aid to that particular program. Action item number 10 is governing the emergency response equipment at institutions of higher education. There were 2 acts that are requiring institutions to provide potentially life-saving devices and measures, such as Narcan and an AED, an automatic external defibrillator. I want to make sure I get that acronym right. Action item number 11 are rules governing the student undergraduate research fellowship program. And that was just adding summer and then incorporating some cleanup language to that set of rules too. Action item number 12, rules governing the uniform course credit for institutions of higher education. This is just allowing the agency guidance to create standards to award college credit for international baccalaureate degrees and CLEP exams. Very similar language exists for the AP policy that we passed earlier, I think in 2019. And finally, action item number 13, rules governing the Arkansas Academic Challenge Scholarship Program. There were several bills that were referenced, or acts that were referenced in this particular rule change. One is, of course, adding summer hours, and there's some cleanup language as well. But we also had the Challenge Plus scholarship that was passed in the general session of 2023, and that information is also included in the rule change. And then we also added the potential for these scholarship dollars to be used at a private career school.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis, for that information. Do we have any questions on these items? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve for initial approval the rules for agenda items 8 through 13?
So move.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Cash. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is that Lucas? Perfect. Got that one. Okay, so I have a motion from Dr. Cash, a second from Mr. Pointer. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, and last we have action item, agenda items number 14 and 15. These cover rules for 2 programs that are up for final approval and begin on page 14-1 of the updated agenda book. Ms. Lewis will also provide background for these items.
You have seen these before, and they're going to be released for, they've already been released for public comment. Action item number 14 are rules governing the Arkansas Workforce Challenge Scholarship Program, and 15 is the same for Arkansas Concurrent Challenge Scholarship Program. The only thing that was different between these 2, we added, of course, cleanup language referring to the director of the Division of Higher Education to now what is known as the commissioner, adding the eligibility of summer aid for both of these programs, and the consideration for private career schools to both of these programs. The only difference between them is concerning action item number 15 for the Concurrent Challenge Scholarship Program. This is now eligible to be given to 10th grade students while they're obviously still in high school. So previously it was 11th grade students and 12th grade students only. And there was legislation that passed that allowed students to be eligible for these funds as a 10th grader.
Thank you for that information. I do have a question on that. On,
Sure.
when we're talking about workforce challenge scholarships and allowing private institutions to be asking for those funds, are we finishing out each year with extra funds or is this gonna make them that much more competitive for our institutions?
That's a really great question, Chair Bigger, and it's not as easy as the rules are future proof. There's a ballot initiative that's going to have to be approved in November in order for that to happen. We do have an excess funds when it comes to workforce challenge, so it's not going to be more competitive, but there's some other language that will have to be some legislation that's going to have to be passed before that can actually happen for workforce challenge. For example, the legislation currently says that the institutions have to be eligible to receive Title IV funds, which is the Pell Grant funds. And we have very few institutions in the state that do accept Title IV funds on behalf of students. We have 4, and we only have 1 in the state that falls into the category of the categories that the ballots they single out.
Alicia, this is Jim Carr. Thank you for that explanation. Question is, just out of curiosity, do you have how much it's going to cost to add 10th graders to this program?
There was a fiscal impact study done. Nick, do you recall those numbers?
For adding the 10th graders?
Yes, sir.
Not off the top of my head. You can give me about 2 seconds. I can probably find it.
Okay.
Okay. More out of curiosity then.
Dr. Carr, I will say that it's been difficult to predict the expansion of concurrent challenge simply because we've had more students take advantage of it because the Secretary of Education, when he's spoken to this group and to other groups, has renewed his emphasis on concurrent education. And so we've had a lot of students that are taking advantage of it and have increased the award amount, but not necessarily, we haven't singled out exactly those 10th grade students that are now eligible to receive the funds.
Yes,
They are eligible.
I've heard him speak in favor of it, right?
Yeah, it's a great idea. And honestly, it's $125 that we're awarding an institution on behalf of a student for one course. So it's an incredible opportunity for high school students. And this scholarship, I think we've doubled it in the first 2 years, from year 1 to year 2.
Thank you for the explanation.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions on these agenda items? Okay. Then do I hear a motion to approve for final approval, agenda items 14 and 15?
Jim Carr, I move the acceptance of them.
Thank you, Dr. Carr. Do I have a second?
Chad.
Oh. Heather, I'm going to put you down as the second on that one. Okay, so we have a motion from Dr. Carr, a second from Mrs. Maxey. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. That concludes our action items for this meeting. We'll now open the floor to any presidents and chancellors who wish to address the board this afternoon. Okay. So just for reference, our next meeting will be October 25th, 2024 at the University of Arkansas Community College at Batesville. Thank you for hosting us. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this special meeting?
So moved. Thank you, Chair Biggers.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Dr. Carr and a second from Dr. Cash. Everybody, thank you so much and have a great afternoon and a great week.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.